Ah, the great college experience. High schoolers dream of it, college students go into debt for it, and parents go to jail for it. Is that too many college scandal-related jokes for one channel? Maybe. Anyways, I just graduated from UCLA as a film major a month ago, and I thought I would take you guys on a little tour around my alma mater and try to do it all while not getting kicked out for not having a filming permit. So it should be a fun time. Let's get going, kids. How do I get down without dying? Hey, Bill! Now, I'm from Maryland, so my first time ever coming to LA was for my UCLA film school interview. They only admit 15 people every year. Oh my freaking lord. So they interview us. So they interview everybody in person first to make sure they don't admit any weirdos. Now, tragically, that system failed in April of 2016 when they admitted me. I did get into a couple other non-film schools that were probably safer and smarter and objectively a much better life decision, actually, than blowing all your money on film school. But I was very headstrong in high school, and I decided, you know, if I had one chance to make a career out of what I love doing, I was sure as hell gonna do it. Now, my college experience started out a bit untraditionally. I knew from the onset I wanted to graduate in 3 years instead of 4, and people always ask me, like, why did you want to do college so fast? It's like, have you heard of out-of-state tuition and the fact that it's like $40,000? So I wanted to save that good tuition money, so I ended up flying out here early to take some summer classes, which are cheaper than like regular tuition for some reason, before my freshman year began. Now, I didn't know a single person in LA, so I ended up living here in an apartment with 4 complete strangers that I met off a Facebook group. Now, this could have ended in either one of 2 ways. I could have made some lovely, unlikely friends, or I could have ended up dead in somebody's basement. Luckily, it was the former, and they actually ended up all being seniors from UCLA, so I kind of got like a crash course in the college experience, mostly just drinking a lot of boxed wine. Fall rolled around, my freshman year officially started, hence this backpack to signify freshman Ashley, and I moved up to Hedrick Hall. Now, despite the UCLA dorms being notoriously overpriced for the equivalent amount of space that you get in a Spirit Airlines seat, I really wanted that good college experience, so I moved up to the freshman dorm, Hedrick Hall. I really just wanted to be like friends with everybody on my floor and have like late night hangouts and all that fun shit. My first week in college started out pretty hopeful because we had like a beach trip together, there was even a karaoke night, and I like screamed Avril Lavigne at the top of my lungs with some of the people from my floor, and I thought we were gonna be really good friends, but then as soon as classes started, I pretty much didn't see anybody like ever again, which I guess is just college. Now, the one thing that did live up to my expectations was the dining halls. They were dank, and like dangerously dank. I did not think the freshman 15 was real, but oh boy, it was real for me. This is where I went to my first ever college party. I remember strutting in a denim skirt and a button-up. Yes, a button-up, because I thought that was what college students wore to frat parties. And I felt so cool because like 3 guys asked me to dance. I found out the next day that this is actually the engineering frat, which explains why they were attracted to nerds in button-ups. And that turns out to be the only time I was ever asked to dance at a college party. I'm also slowly realizing how awful my outfit is in this video, so please don't unsubscribe for that. Right now, we're standing outside Melnitz, which is the film school where I took all of my classes. I remember my first impression of Melnitz was walking into this grand entrance where they have all of the movie posters from all of our UCLA alumni proudly displayed, which was so empowering until you take a closer look and realize that you have no idea what the fuck those movies are because they were all made in like the 80s, and everybody who's graduated since is just like a full-time barista. Right at the onset, I was a little bit like, oh fuck, what have I got myself into? I'm gonna be so unemployed. One thing that took me way too long to learn in film school is that opportunities are not handed to you. You really have to go out and search for them. For some reason in my high school brain, I thought that as soon as I got into film school, like my life was set, they were gonna get me internships, they were gonna get me jobs, and that's really not the case. I think college is exactly what you make of it, and you really have to go above and beyond to go and ask your professors if they have any internship opportunities, ask the guests interesting questions and try to make connections that way. If you guys are just starting school now, please take advantage of those opportunities because you are paying so much for them, and then, you know, before you know it, you're gonna be a graduate and you're not gonna have access to them anymore. This is where I waited to catch the bus for one of my many internships freshman year. I have really seen it all when it comes to internships. I have taken out the trash for free. I wrapped Rachel McAdams' Christmas presents. I met Dev Patel. I've had some good bosses and some weird bosses, but at least luckily nobody has asked me to watch them masturbate in their office, so welcome to the bathrooms at TFT. Wow, luxurious. This is what you wanted in a college tour. Lots of good men's here, lots of peeing, some pooping. Also a decent amount of me just waiting for break to be over in class, because my classes were like 4 hours long, so the teacher would always give us a pretty long break. But like when I didn't have friends that I could talk to, I would kind of just like hide in the bathroom and like sit on the toilet for a while. So that's normal. Now this video has kind of been all like jokes and stuff up until here, but I remember going home for winter break my freshman year, and when I had to take the plane back to LA, I like could not stop crying, because this is such like a first world problem, because I was so lucky to be able to go to film school, and it was like my dream school to go to, and I was supposed to be studying something that I loved. But I guess I thought college would be this big, grand, fun experience with all these friends and parties to go to and classes that I loved, and I just ended up feeling lonelier than I've ever felt before. I felt like I could close my eyes and disappear and nobody would even notice. You know, like I struggled a lot in high school too, and I would like come home crying. I wanted to graduate early and get my GED. And my mom would always say that if I could just hold out until college, I would have an amazing time in college. Everything would be different. But when I finally got to college, I just felt even more alone than I'd ever felt. I honestly was like, shit, I've peaked in high school, and I never thought I would be one of those people. And even though I was going to film school, which was my dream for my entire life, I was so lucky to go, I quickly learned that Hollywood wasn't really what I expected either. You know, I thought it was like all these fun, creative people making their dreams come true, but it was really just a bunch of like executives in their office doing cocaine and people getting jobs because their dad or their cousin worked somewhere. Coming to film school, like everybody back home was just like, oh, invite me when you get an Oscar. They were so proud of me for like pursuing something that seemed really hard, but I felt like it didn't even have a fucking purpose anymore, because it was just people trying to make money in their offices. Like, what's the point? You know, there were like so many more important things to work on in life. I would like cry on my way to class. I would cry on my way to the dining halls. Literally the highlight of my day was just stuffing my face with Brussels sprouts before I went to work at the dining halls until 3 a.m. I remember spring of my freshman year, I took another of the film students to take over my internship, and she was just like, isn't this the best? Isn't college the best time of your life? And she genuinely meant it. And I don't know, I guess it just clicked in my head that it wasn't all UCLA's fault. I felt like I was blaming it on like school. I was blaming it on not having the funnest people on my floor or something like that. But really it was my goddamn fault for not getting out there and like making friends and really trying to do the college things. So I decided for at least the rest of my freshman year, I would just try out the whole college thing and try to do it right. I joined a theater company on campus, and this is where we performed. Well, technically we performed like in the theater, but I couldn't get in, so I'm doing my best. I finally quit my unpaid internship reading shitty scripts in a closet 3 days a week, and I used that extra time to start making YouTube videos again. As cringy as my videos and my hair was back then, I'm really glad that I took a step back from this 24/7 grind of going to class and internships and maxing out on units, and gave myself a little time to try to build something for myself. And I took my first ever cinematography class and made my first short film in film school. It felt really good to get my hands on a camera again for the first time that year, and really reminded me why I came to film school, which wasn't this like administrative bullshit or like making a lot of money. It was really just to make films that I loved making. By sophomore year, things were starting to look up. I was able to use my portfolio of my own YouTube videos to get a job editing for some other YouTubers, so I could finally quit my minimum wage job. And I also moved from the dorms into this lovely apartment. Here, I lived with 5 other girls in a 2-bedroom apartment, which was actually too many people to like legally have in that amount of space, because apparently it was like a fire hazard. So I wasn't on the lease, and I spent a lot of time here avoiding my landlord. I was also making weekly YouTube videos at this point, but I was so embarrassed of my YouTube channel, I couldn't film with anybody else around, which is a hard task when you have 5 other roommates. So I would keep a notes app on my phone and write down every time that they like were in and out of the apartment, and I would find like the 2 hours per week where everybody was out of the apartment and film then, and then scramble to like take down my lights and make my YouTube video for the week. Now, this giant empty plaza is where I would come to film a lot of my lookbooks sophomore year. I remember I would come here with my vlog camera and do like the same motion over and over again. I'd be doing like this for like an hour trying to get the perfect shot for my lookbooks. This is where I would fall asleep after pulling all-nighters, staying up editing and writing essays. This is where me and my friends smoked a blunt before our class, where our required class screening was to watch Twilight. Now I gotta say that movie is pretty entertaining while stoned, but by the end of class my high was wearing off, and I remember being like, how the fuck was I entertained for this for the other 2 hours? This movie is awful. This is where I took urban planning, which I was originally so salty I had to take along with a bunch of other non-film major classes, but It turns out it was one of my favorite classes at UCLA, and you know, maybe at the end of the day, there is something to this whole like liberal arts education thing. The next summer, I applied to another 20 or so studio internships, and surprise, surprise, I got rejected from all of them. So I hauled my ass to this lovely new apartment. Despite having to walk up this literal trash alley every single day to get to my apartment, I was so proud to finally have a room of my own, which was something really special to me. That was the first summer that I started working on my YouTube channel full time, and also where a lot of you guys joined me on my journey. This was a really good summer. I hit 100K on YouTube. I went on a frankly embarrassing number of Tinder dates. Yeah, it was like a good, wholesome summer. Wholesome if you count like wholesome sleeping with David is filming this video, I'm not gonna say any of that. For some reason, I really like college towns in the summer. UCLA is a pretty big school, so it feels like somehow more intimate to just have people around who are like taking summer classes, or who don't want to go home to their families, or who have internships. By the end of the summer, I also met the lovely David, who's filming this video right now, who, dare I say, was one of the best parts of going to UCLA. During senior year, I decided to give myself one final push and load up on courses so I could graduate an extra quarter early. Let's mosey on over to talk more about my college education senior year. Oh, follow me. Senior year at film school, everybody chooses a concentration. So like directing, producing, I was a screenwriting concentration, which meant that I sat in this classroom every single week and went over my pages. I have always been so protective of my writing, so it was fucking terrifying to come here every week and be like, here, read my pages out loud and tell me how cringy they are. But by the end of the school year, it was really nice to have this little like family of people that I could trust to give me criticism and actually make my writing better. And it made my ego like a tiny bit less fragile too, which is good because I need to work on that. I also really appreciate my screenwriting professor was really the first professor at UCLA who told me that I had like some type of potential, which, you know, I shouldn't need like external validation, but it was really nice, especially in like a big school and a big city and a big industry, for somebody to be like, hey, maybe you'll make something that people like.
Bye forever.
See you later, see you on YouTube, all right, bye.
I guess all of this begs the question, do I regret going to college? And recently I've noticed this trend of influencers dropping out of high school and college and saying, fuck the educational system, I don't need that anymore. In some ways, the educational system is so fucking broken. Tuition is absolutely insane, student debt is rampant, but I also fear those people encourage giving up on your education just because it isn't fun. And frankly, it's not. College has become all about the college experience rather than the college education, which is what you're here to get. Getting a college degree is fucking hard. I don't even know how people who get their PhDs do it, but it makes you a stronger person. It makes you smarter. It makes you see the world in a way that you didn't before. And that for me was the reason to go to college and the reason I don't regret going.